Hello, everyone. We've got some people coming in. Welcome. My name's Paul Hamilton. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes, so you got time to get a coffee or a cup of tea on this Wednesday afternoon. Say hello in the chat, though. I'd love to know who's here today. So we've got a few people turning up and turning onto this great webinar on Book Creator. It's certainly time to get creative. So please say hello in the chat. I'd love to know who's here. And you've got a couple of minutes before we get started just to say hello, maybe grab a cup of tea and get organized. So welcome. Please feel free to say hello in the chat. We've got a few people coming in. Hey, Terry, great to have you here. Missed the first one. Okay, we might do a little bit of a recap at the start, Terry, to get you started. But we really want to focus on the creativity in this one and see what we can do with Book Creator. Hey, Francine, great to have you here. Thanks for turning up. For those people that are just joining us, say hello in the chat, do a little bit of networking, say hello to each other. Guaranteed to find someone in our chat that you probably do know. So please say hello. Hey, Samantha, good to have you from Newcastle. Hey, Sharon. Hopefully you learned some new stuff. Absolutely. Oh, Donna, my good friend. Thank you, Donna, for turning up. Louise, Suzanne. I think it's Susan. Susan, sorry. I'm from Sydney, Penrith. Great to have you here. I've got Louise from Ireland. Greetings from Ireland. Great to have you. Amy, hey, how you going? From Sydney. Blacktown. Fantastic. Lots of people. Hey, Roz. Hey, Gabriella, sorry. Fleur's here. Fleur, I think you were here last time. Anne, you are familiar. Gay, good to have you. Thanks for saying hello in the chat. Terrific to have you here. G'day, Joe. Joe's from the UK. Fantastic. We've got some people from Ireland. We've got a little bit of a bit of an international flavour today. That is awesome. Wonderful. We've got some people that missed the first one. That's fine. I'll do a quick recap. Hey, Kelvin, great to have you. Hey, Roz from Brizzy, from Bris Vegas, great to have you here. Hey, Valerie from Fig Tree. Fiona, lovely to have you here. Welcome on this Wednesday afternoon. It's about 4:01. We're going to get started very, very soon. In the meantime, say hello in the chat, and I'm going to stop sharing and get started and say hello to you on big screen, and then we're going to get started on the small screen. Hey, everyone. Great to have you here. Thank you, Kim. Hey, Christine. Great to have you here. Hey, Joanne. Please say hello in the chat. Wonderful to have you here today. We're doing our second webinar on Book Creator. We'll do a quick recap of the first one, but we won't spend more than 1 minute on it. We want to get your creative juices flowing today. We want to see what you can do. So here's a bit of a warning from me. It's not a warning. That sounds a bit negative. A little bit of a challenge to you today. If you've got Book Creator and you're on an online version, open up a new tab or open up a new window. We're going to get creative today. I'm going to give you a couple of creative challenges, and you can watch. If you don't want to do, that's okay as well. But I'm going to give a couple of creative challenges for you today to get started. So it's 4:02. We've got lots of people turning up, lots of people joining us from all over the world. Lots of New South Wales people from the first one, but we've also got people from South Africa, Ireland, the UK. Fantastic to have you here today. So I'm going to share my screen and we are going to get started. Hey, Fiona, I'm going to share my application window and I'm going to jump into Book Creator. Hopefully you can see my screen, which is wonderful. I'm going to hide that and I can get that up again. That's great. Okay, so welcome. My name is Paul Hamilton. I work for Using Technology Better. This is my first year out of classroom teaching after 22 years. It's been a big change for me, but the positive is I get to work with wonderful educators like everyone that's on the chat today. So I'm super excited to be showing you this second webinar in a 2-webinar series with Book Creator. New South Wales teachers, you will know in the first webinar, we looked at how you can take advantage of the New South Wales offer and get Book Creator for free, premium edition, and actually have access to that. And we went through that. Now, we're not going to go through that today because we've got so much to go through, but I will say this. If you get this book, you can read this book and you can read it online with all of the resources by going to the bit.ly down the bottom of that page. I've also put a link in the chat. So I'm going to keep jumping back to the chat and see what you guys are talking about. But please jump on that. It's super important that you get this resource. If you're a New South Wales teacher and you would like to get Book Creator for free, the New South Wales department are offering it for free and you can jump in and get it. And probably the first thing is go to that website, grab this book, have a read of it. It takes you through step-by-step how to grab it. While I'm doing some promotional stuff, we've got a Facebook Book Creator Australia page set up, and we're going to share some stuff today. So if you would like to jump in there and post some things, I'd love to hear from you. So I'm kind of jumping in that every day or so and having a look at what you guys are posting and how you're using Book Creator. And even if you're not from Australia, if you want to jump in there too today and post, I'd love to see what you're doing. We're going to do some super cool challenges today, little creativity challenges. And so I would love you to take a screenshot of the challenges that you are competing in today and maybe share them. If you're on Twitter like me and live on Twitter, just make sure you tag Book Creator at Book Creator app, or even just put the hashtag creativity. I often look at the hashtag creativity to see what people are doing. Or if you would like to post in the Facebook page today with your creativity challenges, you can do that too. So that's Book Creator Australia /groups. Now, if you're really new to technology in general, I've got a couple of little help text here. If you're on a Mac, screenshot. If you want to take a screenshot today and share what you've done, I'd love to see it. It's for Mac, it's Command plus Shift plus 4, and you can actually pinpoint where you want to do your screenshot. On a Windows device, it's Windows and print screen, I think it is. But there's a couple of other ways you can actually screenshot as well. And on a Chromebook, it's that Control plus the little show Windows sign at the top of your keyboard. So if you want to share what you're doing today, this is not going to be a Paul demonstrates for a full-on hour. I'd like to give you some time to actually do today. So by all means, open up a new tab, open up a new Windows, give Book Creator, open it up, maybe a new blank book, and show your creativity today, because creativity comes in all different forms. It's not just artistic, it's creative thinking as well, and we are going to get creative. As I said before, that website down the bottom, the bit.ly down the bottom, will give access to this book, which I'll update at the end of the session, because I'm going to do some live demos as well. So let's do this. Let's get our creative juices flowing. We're looking at Book Creator today, how you can use the tools to get creative, but probably more important, get your kids getting creative as well. So let's make a start. Are we ready? I'm just going to go quickly back to the chat. And I just want to see, I'm going to stop sharing for a second before I start, just to see who's here. I think we're ready to go. Yes, you will get the recording. Donna's one of my colleagues in the background, so she'll be doing things. So feel free. I'd love to know in the chat if you're ready to go and you're going to participate in some of these challenges today. Could you just send me a quick message in the chat to let me know if you've got Book Creator open in another tab or another window and you are ready to go? I'd love to know who's going to participate today. Love to know. The recordings will be sent, Rachel, at the end of the session. Probably, I'd say at the end of this week, early next week, and they'll all be sent out, the actual recordings of them, Rachel. So that's just to answer your question. So who's ready to go? Rhonda, you could do that on your iPad. That's fine. Samantha, let's do this. Fleur, ready to go. Donna's going to get creative. Fantastic. Let's do this and let's get creative and see what we can do with Book Creator and see what you can share. All right, let me share my screen. Let's get started. Sharon, great, fantastic. All right, Terry, that's fine. First time, that's okay. Amy, let's do this. Okay, Sharon, that's fine, not a problem. Hey, by the way, if you feel like this is too much to watch and do at the same time, that's okay. I'll do some live demos as we go along. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Let's do this, and I'm going to jump into Book Creator and get started. I'm going to start by doing a creativity test. Creativity test is we're going to do this circle test. So I'll do a live demo. If you want to have a go at this without watching me, that's super fine. But I'm going to show you what to do. I used to do this with my students as a bit of a warm-up. I didn't really like using the word test because kind of creativity and test don't go great together. But here we go. We're going to do a creativity test. So I'm in Book Creator, and this is super easy to set up. I'm going to go up to plus. I'm going to go up to shapes, and I'm going to bring over a circle. Now, in Book Creator, if you're new to it, like Terry, we can do a few things with this. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to press I, and I'm going to just make it white, okay? Because I want this to be, a circle's going to be kind of like our canvas for our creativity test today. And then you can do a few things. If you want to right-click, you can copy, or you can, for me, if you're on a different device, you can do Command-C or Control-C and copy, and just make a few copies of your circle. Just move them around. Make them big and small. And if you're thinking, Paul, how do I remember all this stuff? You'll get a recording of this webinar, and you shall also, you've got a copy of the book. So when I update the book as we go along, you'll also get a copy of that so that you'll be able to see what we've actually done. So I'm going to put about, let's see how many I've got there. Yeah, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Perfect. And I've just spread them all out. And one of the things that's great for creativity tests is just giving our students a whole lot of circles and saying to them, I want you to turn those circles into something else. Now, I'll go through what I've always found with students in regard to creativity, in regard to this aspect. But you can do it in Book Creator incredibly easily. So what I'm going to say is I'd like you to go and use the tools at the top. After you've put a few circles down, go up to the top and use either the pen tool, text tool, import pictures, and I want you to turn each of your circles into something else, but they must all be different things. So when you look at this, you could say, oh, that circle might become, say, the Earth or a planet, and I might actually draw on it and make it a planet. Or maybe you can include it and try and make them as diverse as possible. See if you can think really creatively, think flexibly in what they could do. Remember, there are no silly answers. So a creativity test is fantastic. So if you'd like to get started on it, great. I'm going to do a live demo here for those people that don't. So if you would like to mute me, or if you don't want to watch, you can. So here's a couple of things that we can do. We can go to plus, we can go to media, and we can use probably the first tool that sticks out with our creativity test, which is the pen tool. So if you've got a stylus, you can use a stylus. If you've got an iPad, you can use an iPad. I'm going to select the pen, and it doesn't really matter what pen we choose, but I'm just going to turn one of these circles into something. So I might actually start by turning these two circles, remember you can combine them, into something like some glasses. And I might do a dot and a dot. And so I've got some little glasses, or it looks like a bit of a hair at the moment. And I might just change my brush tool there and make that a little bit smaller and do some kind of eyelashes. So a creativity test is a fantastic way of just getting kids to think about different ways of doing things. and what circles could represent. We know that creativity, we really want to encourage those kind of out there answers, those answers that are very different from everyone else. And this is just a great way of doing it. So while I've got the pen tool there, I might do a little kind of ring and make this a little bit like a planet. So that's kind of like a little Saturn. So I've done 2 there. What else might I do? This circle here might be a basketball. And this is a little circle test. And it's really interesting to see what our students come up with. You always get some remarkable answers. So we've got a little creativity test there. So I'm just turning that into a basketball there. Doesn't look like exactly like a basketball, but it's getting there. And I can press done. And so what you can actually do is while that's updating, you can see that it's gone through. I've used the pen tool to get our students really thinking about creativity and what I can turn shapes into. But you can also use something else. What about we do an image search and change and turn some of our circles into something using images? So if I go to media again and you're new to Book Creator, you can go to import in media and you can search for some images. So I might look for a maybe a knife and fork. Don't forget the search that we have within Book Creator really does allow us to use those images. So it kind of by default looks for images that we can use and manipulate and change through copyright. So that's a good way of going through it. So if I look at a knife and fork, I've got a knife and fork there, I'll touch that and I just press select. And all of a sudden I've turned, that's a bit big, so we can resize it just by tapping on it. The thing that we love about Book Creator is it's so easy to use that we really focus on the creativity and the learning a lot more than actually using the tech. So if you're new to it, like Terry, I think Terry, you mentioned you were, it's really easy. So all of a sudden I've actually turned my, my circle into a plate. And I can start to look for different things to actually turn my circles into. And I guess the premise of this creativity test is if you put a whole lot of circles, who are the students that can think flexibly and think about a lot of different ways of using a circle in a limited amount of time? So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 there in about a minute or two demonstrating. I'd love to know what you've created. If you want to share it with Twitter or Facebook, just take a screenshot of what you've done. I'd love to see what you've created. I might give you a little bit more time and just do one more demo. So why don't I go to the, let's see what I can do. Oh, I might go to the text tool, think a little bit differently. And I might put 2 letters with a space in between them and make that text a little bit bigger. And I might be able to turn one of my circles into a letter O. How's that? That's pretty creative. Just press done there. So I've actually turned one of my circles into a letter of the alphabet and had the word top. So you can see here, we really want to encourage diversity. I always look for students that are combining 2 circles together. That's always a really good sign of creativity, when they stop looking at circles individually and they look at the collective a little bit more. And you also find that a lot of students will just use it as a canvas. So they won't actually go outside the circle. So they'll turn each circle into a plate of food, for example, and just put things in the circle. So after you've done it with your students in Book Creator, encourage your students to think a little bit differently in regard to going outside of the circle, combining circles, and all of a sudden, you're actually teaching your students to actually be creative. I don't think creativity is just an innate thing that you're born with. I think we can teach creativity. So encourage and telling your students that you can actually go outside the circle is one way of getting them to think a little bit differently. So that's a little creativity test to start with today. I'm going to just go back to my chat and just see if people have any comments. What did people think about the creativity test? Have you actually had a go at it? Are you still doing it right now? am I interrupting you from doing your creativity test? Have you ever used the circle test before? That'd be interesting to see if you as teachers have actually ever used that creativity test as well. So I would love to see if you've, or hear from, if you've actually ever used the creativity test before. By the way, I'll put up the link. I've put the link there and I'll grab it quickly again. This is a link to the book. And if you are a New South Wales teacher, please feel free to jump in there and look at the instructions about how to access that free offer from the New South Wales government. That'd be great. Hey, Rhonda, let's have a look. I've got some people coming in. You want the Twitter link as well to put it on Twitter? That's great. Hey, Joanne. Roz, can't wait to try it with your year threes. Oh, year threes will love it. Rhonda, yep, it's a lot of fun and it's a great way of tapping in as well. So if I can just go back, it's great to see. Oh, yeah, Carla, you've used a different kind of aspect of that. That's fantastic. So we've got a lot of different kind of variations of the circle test. Don't like using the word test, but absolutely. So a couple of things after we've done our creativity right there. I'll go back to my page so that I can share with you those couple of links really, really quickly. So creativity test, take a screenshot. And if you would like to share your screenshot on Twitter, make sure you tag the Book Creator people. They would love to see what you're doing, maybe with a hashtag creativity. And we've also got our Facebook page there, which is /groups/Book Creator Australia. And if you're coming in from overseas, you're more than welcome to use that. We are a very open and approachable country, not at the moment with our borders shut, but we are definitely likable people in Australia. So please feel free to share either on Twitter with tagging Book Creator or hashtag creativity on Twitter as well. And if you'd like to share it on our Facebook page, we would love to see it. So what better way to start than to do a quick creativity test with our students? Think of all the different ways. I am always surprised at what our students come up with. It is amazing, but it's also really interesting. You get a real insight into what the students love doing. Like, kids that are fascinated with dinosaurs or monsters, they kind of by default go to those subjects that are really passionate about. And so it's a really good insight to start your year off doing the creativity test, because you actually get an insight into what's in our students' minds and what they're thinking. And so it's a really great activity. So down the bottom, you can see Facebook and Twitter there. If you'd like to share your screenshot, we would love to see them. So let's keep moving on. We've done a little bit of a test. It's time to look at some of the tools that that Book Creator have that are fantastic for probably tools that you already have. So the first thing I'd like to do now is I'd like to show you how you can embed forms. Now, that could be a Microsoft form, it could be a Google form. In regard to collecting information, you can actually embed inside a Book Creator book your Google Forms and Microsoft Forms and probably the tools that you're already using. So let me show you how you do that. I'm going to go to a new tab and I'm going to open up, let's say I open up a YouTube clip that I'm wanting to use. So I'm going to let that run just a little bit. I'm going to skip the ads. And I'm going to actually copy that YouTube clip. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to actually I'll shut that one down. And I'm going to show you how to embed a YouTube clip and a Google form so that your students can give feedback or reflect on a video directly in Book Creator. Very cool. So this is how you do it. You go up to the plus, you go to media, and we go to import. So we're going to use that a lot today. We go to embedded. Now, in Book Creator, you can insert an embedded link, which is a lot different than just a normal URL. But you would have remembered that I actually just had the URL of the YouTube clip. It also works pretty well. So if I go confirm, you can see that I can add that to my book. So you've got a YouTube video built into the book, and you can actually pass this on to your students. So we can actually share that book like we went through in the webinar 1. And so if you've got this book, you'll be able to go back and look. But how good is that? Actually embedding a YouTube clip directly inside Book Creator. Fantastic. But let's say we want to take this further and we want our students to reflect within the book itself. So this is how you do it. You go up to plus. Oh, before they do that, I need to go to my Google form. So I've got a Google form already prepared. It's a little C-Think Wonder, if you're familiar with that sort of thing. Project Zero, thinking routines, I use a lot. And so what I've got here is I've created kind of like a little exit ticket C-Think Wonder, and it's a Google form where the students fill in quick answers. It could be multiple choice or it could be short or long answers. Now, if you're familiar with forms, either Microsoft Forms or Google Forms, you'll know that when you actually press send, we want to make sure that our students can access it. And what we can do is we can actually, we could make sure that our settings are there so our students can actually access it. We know about Google Forms. And what we can do is we can just copy that URL, or even if I go to preview and I copy that, and we can put that straight into our Google, our Book Creator book. So if I go to plus and I go to media, we go to import. By the way, we could also go straight to our drive, which is probably a lot easier. But I'm going to embed this like I did the other one. And I'm going to paste the link to my Google form or my Microsoft form, and I'm going to add it to my book. And look at that. We've got an embedded interactive form built into Book Creator where our students can not only look at our YouTube clip, but they can fill the form in. And so all they need to do is obviously I'll play the book and I can actually fill it in. But to give you an idea of that, look at that. I can actually say my name is Paul straight in. This is what I'm actually seeing. This is what made me think. This is what makes me wonder. And I can submit that book all within Book Creator and without using new tabs or new links. And as a teacher, I can go back to my Google Forms and I can look at my responses and I can see the individual responses that have just come in. And you can see my one down the bottom there. That's come through basically in real time, which is fantastic. So how good is that? We can embed not only YouTube clips, but we can embed in Book Creator Microsoft Forms or Google Forms that our students don't even have to leave the book to fill in and to reflect. And you can use this for formative assessment or summative assessment, but it is super easy to do. So I'm just going to stop there and see if there's any questions in my chat, and hopefully that was something that was of interest to you in regard to being able to do those. Sharon, yep, you can embed those forms, which is so easy to do. Fantastic. Donna's just put a little kind of Google Doc if you would like to share it there. If you're not on social media, not a problem at all. Yeah, so that was actually embedding YouTube clips with Google Forms or Microsoft Forms. Basically, anything that has a URL link, we can embed there. So be interested. In the chat, do you use Google Forms? Do you use G Suite? Do you use Microsoft? I'd be really interested to see what you're using in your own kind of platform in your school. And this is a great way. You're absolutely right, Rhonda. This is a brilliant way to get feedback directly and all in the one spot, not having to come to different links and all that sort of thing, which is really, really interesting. Rachel, you use both platforms. Okay, so both of those are great. Yep, Terry, you use Google Forms and stuff. I think probably the main thing that you need to think about when you're doing the embedded forms is to make sure that your students can obviously access them in regard to the permissions. And you know how G Suite and Microsoft Works, you need to make sure that our students can actually add to them and it's not view only and different things like that. So super easy to do. And I'm going to show you some more embedding tools as well, which is really, really efficient going forward. Yeah, it is quite amazing, Amy, in regard to, I used to use Google Forms and Microsoft Forms all the time because it was a quick way for my students to give me feedback at the end of the day. I used to use exit tickets an awful lot as well. And you can embed, Joanne, you can embed Seesaw content as well. Absolutely. So one of the things that the people at Book Creator have done incredibly well is they've invested a lot of time into that embedding tool. So as long as it has a URL and the students are kind of logged in, we're right to go. Okay, let's keep moving forward. I've got so much to show you today. I'll go back to my application window and let's share the next part of our Book Creator. So quick recap. We've done a creativity test. Awesome. We've done inserting YouTube clips with some feedback forms, whatever platform you're using. What are we up to now? Oh, we're up to road trips. Okay. So let's pretend you're doing some sort of study in regard to you're studying some ancient history or a geography unit or something like that. And it could be absolutely anything. I want to show you how to embed a kind of a Google tour creator or a virtual tour directly into your book. And you don't need to have Google accounts for this. I will show you how to access some amazing virtual tours. So let's get started. I'm going to close down. I'm going to go to my C-Think Wonder and just go to a different website that I'd like to share with you. Now, there's a website called Poly. Now, Poly is a place where you can publish 3D artwork, virtual tours. If you basically go to poly.google.com, it is super easy to search for a range of different things. I'm just going to copy that URL and I'm going to quickly jump into the comments and paste that in because it's a wonderful website. So let me go back. So this is one that I've looked for. It's of ancient holy places in Jerusalem. And it's a Google, kind of like a Google expedition. It was created in Tour Creator. And you can see that I can go to different scenes. And it's got little points of interest you'll kind of notice. It's basically amazing to go to. It's got these little eyes that you can click on and your students can read a little bit about the different places. But the great thing about this is we can actually embed it. These virtual tours are basically anywhere in the world in our Book Creator books. So you basically go down the bottom and you press share and you copy the link. I'm going to copy the embedded link this time, which is a little bit bigger. So basically websites have two links. They have the normal URL, but they also have an embedded link. Most of them have that as well. And I'm going to jump back into Book Creator and go to the same process. So I go to plus, media, and I go to import, embedded, and I paste it. It's that easy. I add it to my book. I can make that a little bit bigger, by the way. And have a look at that. With a couple of clicks of my mouse, I've embedded a virtual tour of a place that my students can not only view and explore the virtual tour, but they can also interact with it by hitting on those points of interest. And so if I click on that, it opens up a little preview window that I can make bigger if I'd like to. And I've got a virtual tour that I can scroll around and I can zoom in and I can do a range of different things in my virtual tour. And I can actually read about the different things that are happening in the different places. So that is how I embed a virtual tour in Book Creator. And there's lots of different websites that have virtual tours. Poly is one of my absolute favorites in regard to how accessible it is and how easy it is to kind of view. I guess the other thing that's really, really important too is if you think about the last page that we had, we embedded that little Google form inside our book, you could do exactly the same thing with your virtual tour. So you could have your students going on a tour through a museum or a different place, and you could definitely have another little Google form or a Microsoft form underneath and have them actually commenting on and I guess recording their learning as they go along in that session. So it's super easy to do. I put that link in the chat. It was called Google Poly, and it's such a great way of looking for amazing content online that is 360 degrees and the students can really click and revolve around. So I'm going to jump back into my chat and see if there's any chat happening. I'll just turn off my camera. So fantastic. Oh, okay. So Louise, yeah, jump into Poly and do a little bit of a search for religious sites, and you will find some amazing stuff. It's super easy to find that content. I'd love to run a series. I actually run a few webinars on Tour Creator and how you can create your own tours. That's super easy to do as well. But if you've used Google Poly before, I'd love to know in the chat if you've used it, or tell me if you've never used Google Poly before at all and you haven't really had a good deep dive into it. I'd love to know in the chat. By the way, if you've got any other questions, put them in the chat. I'm kind of jumping back into the chat and trying to answer your questions as we go along. So we've covered a few things already. We've got a few things to go, which I'm excited about. Google Poly is a fantastic way of embedding those virtual tours directly. So Terry, you've never heard of it before? Fantastic. Joanne, you haven't heard of it either. Have a look. Click on that link. Did I put it in there? Can I put it in again? No, that's the embedded frame. I won't put that in. I will quickly put in that Poly link as well. So you've got a copy of it. Here it is here. And we're going to have a look at it again in a minute. Yep, Tour Creator is fantastic. And once again, Book Creator is that perfect book in regard to, or that perfect kind of platform, online platform to embed everything. So it's really, really fantastic. Good, Roz. Yeah, there are some amazing things. How good is it? Yeah, San Diego Zoo. Put a little template, either a Microsoft form or a Google form on the side, and it is so easy to do. So once again, you will get this book. All you need to go is to that bit.ly and you get a copy of these of all these resources as well. So let's keep going. Here we go. I'm going to turn my screen on. We've got a few things to go before we finish, and let's have a look here. So once again, I'm going to jump back quickly. All of these ideas that we're sharing, you get this book. So you'll get a copy of everything I've done in this book. I'll put up this web link. I'll put up that link at the end again, so you get a copy of it. But everything I do and all of these pages, you will get a copy of. So please don't worry if you feel like, oh, I'm missing out here, Paul. I just saw that and I just came in late. I promise you'll get a copy of that and we will pass that on later. So we've done our creativity test. Super, a lot of fun doing our creativity test. We looked at how to embed forms and also YouTube clips. We looked at how to embed a virtual tour. We're not restricted to the four walls of our classroom anymore. We can put these amazing immersive tours straight into our books, which is cool. The other thing I wanted to explore today is some art. So one of the things that Poly, once again, Poly does incredibly well is it embeds 3D artwork that has been made from VR headsets like Tilt Brush or HTC headsets, a range of different headsets. And I love these because they're really immersive, and artwork can be an amazing stimulus for creative writing. And we used to use it a lot in classroom, looking at famous pieces of artwork and how we can actually write and be creative with our literacy in regard to that. So let me show you how to do that. I'll go to my, let me see if I've bookmarked it. I should have bookmarked it up the top. Yes, I have. This is once again Polly, and I did a search for VR artwork. I'll give it, I'll give it time to come up. And a little bit scary, but I'm hoping that there's no students watching. But this is a beautiful piece of artwork that was created in Tilt Brush, which is a VR software platform. And it is amazing. And look at how I can scroll and look at all the mist and the beautiful trees and all the things that this artist has created. The thing that I love about Polly and this sort of artwork is it has some movement in the art, and I can also zoom in by pinching and actually zooming in. So I can actually look at some really interesting pieces of the artwork, the elements, the paints that they've used, the brushes and the textures. I can use that within Polly. And this is just in a browser. This works on Windows, Chromebooks, Macs, the whole lot. And it's incredibly immersive, and it's incredibly, you can really search. Oh, I didn't see that kind of this red flashing light there before. So we can actually go to share. We can go to embedded, click on it and copy. And we can embed amazing artwork, 3D immersive artwork, by doing that same process. Plus, media, import, embedded, and paste. And all of a sudden, we've got this beautiful piece of artwork that our students can explore and actually place directly within our books. So when they click on it, they'll be able to not only scroll around, but they'll be able to zoom. You can see there that I'm zooming in, and I can zoom out, and I can rotate and look at my art from different perspectives. Really immersive. And if I combine that, once again, with an activity down below, all of a sudden I've got an incredibly immersive piece of content that my students are viewing, but I've also got that, I guess, the opportunity for my students to fill in a form as they actually go through and reflect on the artwork in the same page. So that is a way that we can actually embed some beautiful visual arts, and we can actually kind of, I guess, comment on that and create activities and tasks around that immersive art as well. So as I keep going, I've got another little creativity example. Now, if you're not participating today, you're just watching this, I'll demonstrate it. I'm just going to hide that so you don't have to see it. One of the things that I love about Book Creator is how easy it is to do quick sketches and quick thinking. So I've got a quote here from a famous person. I'd love to know in the chat if you know who said this quote. Please don't Google it. I can see people trying to Google straight away. I'll read it out for you. If you set your goals ridiculously high and it's a failure, you will fail above everybody else's success. I wonder who said that. It's basically talking about aiming really high with our goals in life. So one of the things that I used to do with my students in class is we once again did a lot of thinking routines, which is the work from Project Zero. And one of the activities was called color, symbol, image. So if I looked at this quote and I wanted to think of a color that represented that, what would it be? So for me personally, I would go up to the plus, I'd go to my media, and I'd select my pen tool. I'll select a thick brush, really thick brush. I'll click on the color at the top, and I'll select a color that I think best represents that quote. So I'm just going to do a little kind of quick little sketch there. It's just going to be a little color, and I'm going to press done. And you can see how easy it is. Now, with thinking routines, it's not so much about what I do, it's my justification of the color. So I selected green because I thought this was really about almost green representing go, like, you know, go for it, kind of set your goals really, really high. So what I used to ask my students to do was justify why they selected that color. And so I would do that in Book Creator by adding an audio. So I'd go up to plus, I'd go to media, and I'd select record my voice. If you're really new to Book Creator, you will know that it is so easy from 5-year-olds right through to high school to record their thinking. So this is how you do it. Start recording. I selected green because I thought green represented go and action. Use recording, and you can see there it pops up with an audio recording of my justification that I can place next to my green. Another great thing about Book Creator is if I click on my recording here, my audio recording, and I go to the I can actually add a transcript and I can generate it automatically. So it's going to take a little while to generate that transcript, but what that does is it creates a transcript, a text of what I actually said in my audio recording. So that makes my, I guess, audio recordings accessible for all students, especially if, for example, they might have a hearing disability, that I can provide a transcript for my students to read, as well as an audio transcript or an audio recording for my students that might struggle with literacy. So I'm actually, when you think about accessibility, you're actually talking about these simple tools that we can put in our books that makes our content accessible to all of our learners. And it's super easy to do that. That was just taking a little while, so I kind of just pressed off, but it does generate it reasonably quickly. And so what else we can do is we could look at a symbol. So as long as we've got a color there, we could actually go up to, or you can see that the transcript has just popped up. I might go to my shapes and I might combine two shapes or come up with some sort of symbol that represents that quote. So I might combine two shapes together and I might put a star on the side. And so I've created a little symbol that somehow represents what this quote is all about. And finally, I could do a little sketch or a drawing of a picture that represents that quote as well. And one of the things that we love about Book Creator, it has auto draw. How cool is this? So we go up to plus, and if I go to media and my pen tool, and down the bottom there's a little auto drawing, I could actually draw, or hopefully draw, and if I'm not great at drawings, what it's actually doing is it's saying at the top, Paul, did you mean a star or did you mean a camel? So what it does is it auto draws, and when I click on it, it actually creates that. And so you can change the colors of your auto draw, and I'm all of a sudden, I'm all done, and it creates that drawing there for me. It's called auto draw, and it's a fantastic way of creating little symbols if your sketching is not up to scratch, and it's a fantastic way. So I've kind of demonstrated 3 or 4 different tools there, from audio to pen tool to auto draw to shapes, but you can see how quickly we can, I guess, represent our creative thinking through symbols, drawings, and shapes. Super easy to do. So I'm going to come quickly back to my chat and see if that resonated with anyone. I'd be really interested in what you thought of that idea. Auto draw is wonderful, Sharon. It's fantastic. Yeah, Joe, one of the things that I love, I absolutely love about Book Creator is I used to get my preppies, which are grade 5s. One of the first things I taught them was how to actually create audio recordings. And some of the information that we got back from students just through audio recordings in Book Creator was incredible. it really did show how much was going on in their little minds. And I think part of our job of teachers is somehow getting into those minds and finding out what they're thinking. And so audio recordings is a great way to actually do that. And absolutely love that now Book Creator are starting to work on transcripts and all of these little things that happens automatically, and super, super easy to use. And there's so many great tools that we can actually use. Samantha, you are right. James Cameron, the famous movie director that directed Terminator. What else did he do? He did a range of different things. Titanic, I think he did as well. Some wonderful movies. One of my favorite directors, James Cameron. So well done for getting that. Good on you, Rachel. Yeah, Rhonda, great idea. Great idea. Fantastic. So many different things that we can actually do. I've got, I think, one more thing to show you before we wrap it up. I know it's been a big week, especially for you New South Wales teachers. You are so looking forward to holidays, I would imagine. So let me go back. I've got one last thing to show you. And then we can finish up. So, we've done a lot. So you've got a copy of all these books. You've got a copy of this book. So all these resources, you'll get a copy of them. You just need to go to the link that I'll post again. Let's click on that transcript and see how it went in. Yeah, there's a couple of things I need to change, but that's okay. I think I said I selected, so you can actually edit your transcripts as well. So you can actually edit at the top, and you could say, I selected green because I thought green represented go in action. Press done. And obviously now you've got an accurate transcript. So super easy to change transcripts in Book Creator, but I think the audio recording in itself is a really powerful tool. 3D tours. Well, we've already done 3D tours, but I did want to show you one last website that you can go to get amazing tours from. And that is another 3D site, which is called Sketchfab. So if I go to, maybe I haven't got Sketchfab. Let me go to Sketchfab and see if we can find where that is. So if I go to Sketchfab, this is, Sketchfab is a 3D site that you can actually get 3D aspects. If I go to, let's do a search on museum and see what's around. Got lots of different artifacts. Now, a lot of these artifacts are directly from museums themselves. Some aren't, but some are. So you can actually, if you looked at the Harvard, I think the Harvard Museum or the British Museum has got some amazing different pieces. So if I looked at Harvard there and I grabbed this, this artifact here, what you can do in Sketchfab is, once again, if you go to share, this time I'll just copy the link. And if I go back to Book Creator and do that same thing, it also works beautifully in regard to museum type sites. So if I just put in the website, you can see there that it's going to embed beautifully in regard to an artifact that's there sitting beautifully. How good is that? And so when I click on that, it will, sometimes it opens up a new site, sometimes it embeds, but I can actually look through that actual 3D model and explore that as well. Maybe I should have done the embedded form, the embedded website. That probably would have worked better. But just to give you a bit of insight into the 3D model itself, is you can see there that I can rotate around it. I can kind of flick it around. I can zoom in and actually have a look at different aspects. So Sketchfab is another one that I would highly recommend in regard to looking at really authentic type content that you might like to explore within your books. Finally, I want to talk about how we can collaborate. So one of the things that we can also embed, as well as Google Forms and Microsoft Forms, is Word documents and Google Docs. And so you could have a collaborative feature built straight into your books. So if I was to go to Plus, Media, Import, this time I'm going to go to my Google Drive, And I've got a little Google Doc here that I wanted to brainstorm with my students. So if I press select, and I'll add it to my book, I'll make it a bit bigger so that you can see. I've got a Google Doc here now that all of my students can comment on. So all they need to do is actually click on the link itself, and then it takes a little while to come in, and then they can click into the cells themselves automatically and actually fill in those forms as they go on. So all they need to do is click there and actually click on there, and that's an editable form. It does take about 2 or 3 minutes when you put it in. And sometimes I need to refresh my book at the top just as a bit of a warning, but most times it will load automatically, and you can actually have your students brainstorming all in the same doc within the actual book creator or the book itself. And so that's super easy to do. A little bit of a tip from me, I always put a table in Google Docs just so my students have a place to brainstorm and contribute and they know where they are. Sometimes if you don't put a table in, they're all in different places and it kind of gets a little bit mucked up and people start deleting things. So always put a table in. It's good practice in regard to sharing docs with your students. And so that's a way that we can collaborate within Book Creator itself. So we are done. We are absolutely done, but I wanted to share a few things before we finish. The first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I'm going to jump back into the chat in a minute and answer any of your questions that you have, but I just did want to take this opportunity to thank you, especially during this difficult time. Most of you are at school and you're coming home and attending webinars. It's a testament to you and your commitment to your students. So thank you so much in regard to joining us. It's fantastic in regard to the commitment that you have shown. I'm going to put, if I can, I'll put that website in again in regard to, let me stop sharing and come back to you. This is where you can actually go to get that book. And I'm going to answer lots of your questions in the chat itself. Please jump into, if I can share with you once again, our Facebook. I think it's important to do that, and also our Twitter that we've got. So let me go back to that first page because I'd love for us to continue to collaborate together and share ideas. So if I bring up, let's bring up this one here. Please share everything you've done today on the Twitter and tag the Book Creator people. They'd love to see what you're doing. Please join our Facebook page there underneath, which is just here in our Facebook page. We'd love to see what you're doing there. If you're not on socials, that's fine as well. Talk to fellow teachers, see what they're doing. I'll post once again the direct link for Book Creator. And what you get is right at the top. I've got the dogs barking next door. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but it's a little bit annoying, but that's okay. What you get when you download that link is all of the book that we went through in our other session, and it goes through all of the steps for New South Wales teachers if you want to get that offer of a free premium account. It's also got the links to actually where to do that, so that where the offer actually is. And then it's got all of the activities that we've done today, including all of the embedded forms, the YouTube clips, and you can read through this book at your own pace, and hopefully it reminds you of some of your ideas that you can actually have with your students. So I'm going to turn off my screen there. And I'm going to say thank you so much for attending our webinar today. I'm going to hang around and have a look at some of your questions and see if there's anything I can provide. Joe, you will get, if you've registered for this webinar, you will get in the next couple of days an email that has both recordings for both webinars. So it will go through the first webinar that we did. And if you weren't at that one, it goes through things like book sharing, how to invite kids to your bookshelf. It talks about how to share books, talks about a range of different things. And you'll also get an email with this recording as well. So thank you, Rhonda. I really appreciate the comments. Thank you. Philomena, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you over the last couple of webinars. Thanks, Fiona. Thank you, Joe. Fantastic. Wonderful to have you here today. I'll hang around and answer a few questions as we go through. If I'm not answering your question straight away, it might be a bit of a delay with the chat coming down. Thanks, Joanne. I really appreciate that. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks, Gay. I hope it got you thinking a little bit. That's great. Thanks, Terry. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you, Valerie. Really appreciate it. I can't wait to jump in Facebook. Thanks, Samantha. Thanks, Amy. Awesome. That's fantastic to hear. Thanks, David. Thanks, Susan. Thanks, Sharon. Oh, absolutely. I think students with special needs. Donna, I can help Fleur in a minute. So I might jump in now and help Fleur. Fleur was looking at how to turn a link into an embedded code. Okay, cool. So I'll share that with you right now for those people that would like to see. So I'm going to go back to quickly jump back. So if I go to, let me go to I'm going to go to my book creator and use my Polly, for example. So Fleur, there's a couple of things. So this one at the top is obviously the URL link. So that will work with Book Creator as well. But some websites you can go to and find a share button. The share button allows, most of the time, will have a little embedded code. And you can see here it's a lot longer. And what you need to do is you need to copy that. Some websites won't allow you to grab the embedded code. It just won't have an option. But the ones that I shared with you today, Polly, Sketchfab, and some of the other ones, they do have embedded codes. So some websites have embedded codes that you can throw straight in, that you can go to plus, media, import, embed. And here you can paste that embedded code if the website has one. But if the website doesn't have one, you can also just paste the URL at the top, the actual web address. So there's kind of two options for you, I think, going forward. I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, please get in contact. I'm happy to do that for you. Thanks, Gabriella. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you learned something new. Thank you so much. Thanks, Fiona. Thanks, Sharon. Thank you, Fleur. Thanks, Sharon. Thanks, Patricia. Lovely to meet you all. Thanks, Janie. I think it's Janie. Hope I'm getting the pronunciation right. Thank you for joining us today, especially in such a busy time of the year. Some of you are on holidays. Some of you, I know New South Wales teachers are looking forward to holidays in the next couple of weeks. So have a well-earned rest, and hopefully you can use some of these tools in Book Creator that we love so much. Thanks, Fleur. Thank you, Donna, so much for helping. I appreciate it. So I'm just going to hang around for 2 more minutes, and then I'll say good night to you all, or good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. And I can't wait. I'm going to jump into the Facebook page and just see on Twitter if there's been any sharing of our creativity test. I'd love to see if there's been any sharing going forward. So have a lovely night. If there's not any more questions, I'm going to sign off for the night. So I'm just having a little bit of a look. Looks like people are saying good night, which is great. Oh, Rianne, yeah, I did. So that was a movie file, and the witch was moving in the video. So it was actually in Book Creator. You can just drag movies or insert movies directly in, and it was actually a movie of the artwork. So my daughter did that. It took a long time to do, but you can actually embed movies over the top. It wasn't actually animated in Book Creator or anything like that. It was just a movie file that was very similar to the artwork going forward. So hopefully that explained that. Rhianne, did that make sense? What was used for that? If you're curious about how to make kind of that animation type, that was used with some Adobe software. So that was actually a combination of a couple of things. So that took quite a few weeks to actually did that, which is good. Oh, thank you. Well done, Fleur. That's awesome. And thanks, Donna, for helping out there. There was a couple of great questions there going forward. So thank you so much, Donna. You are a blessing. Thank you. You're a gem. I think most things really do embed quite beautifully in Book Creator as well. So it's almost 5:05. I need to let you guys. Fleur, it is different. Okay, so Book Creator on iPad will not have a lot of the tools that we had today. The reason why I showed you the online version for a couple of reasons is because it's accessible over any platform. So Chromebooks, Macs, Windows devices, and a lot of those online tools that you saw today are just with the online version Fleur. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to show you that today, was the difference between the two. I love the iPad version as well, especially the ability to take photos and insert movies and add audio recordings, and all of those different things are still there, but some of those embedding tools and the online tools are not there in regard to the iPad version. So hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to say good night. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, teachers, for the job that you're doing with your students at the moment. It's so appreciated from all of the families and everyone that knows how much work you're putting in. So good night, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next time on the next webinar. Bye.